Welcome back to Road Gang Radio. Join Jimmy Mack and Lindsay Lawler's Gang of the Airwaves by subscribing to Radio Nemo on YouTube.
We celebrate all kinds.
Make it official. After all, if you're listening, you're already in the gang. The Road Gang.
You are in the Road Gang, and we are live from Fast Sports Studios with your host, that hat-wearing man himself, Jimmy Mack. You can't say nothing about that.
Yeah, this hat, by the way, is a New Orleans Saints cap I'm wearing today. I've also got a couple of really groovy things from Fallout, a couple of flash pins from Fallout on there. The Pep Boy giving the big thumbs up, but also the Pep Boy emerging from a can of toxic waste. Totally protected, of course, because that's the Pep Boy as well. Are you looking forward to Jeremy later on this afternoon?
100%.
I mean, we're really excited about Lindsay's talking to one of our authors that we've gotten a chance to talk to on the show. You may notice that from time to time, that Lindsay will do a We Should Write with a guest we've had on Road Gang Radio. It's because, we only got about maybe 20 minutes with those folks.
Yeah.
We dig in a little bit. We get some information. But sometimes these folks spark the creative imagination, say some stuff about how important writing is from a therapeutic standpoint. And Lindsay's like, we got to dig in further. She's going to be doing that a little bit today. We'll be talking to her when she arrives on the scene at 9 in the center, 10 in the east on Road Gang Radio, and getting a sense of where she's going to be taking us from that point. By the way, I want you guys to go to tatnonprofit.org. If you head over there, you'll see one of the best organizations in the industry who are basically fighting the fight for innocent men, women, and children all across the planet. And what is it they think globally, and they most certainly act locally. Micah Larsen of TAT is here. He's got Darrah Thomas with him as well. Good morning, Micah. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Jimmy?
I don't have that many complaints, although it was like the Wild West this morning for a little bit here. We think a breaker fuse blew. And and basically it was Dre Madison and I being like, okay, so let's stay calm, which usually involves Dre staying calm and me in a rising volume of rage. And we somehow one step ahead of the sheriff, because at one point somebody said, should we go on there and tell people we're not going on? And Dre and I together went, we're going on.
Get the extension cords.
It's like, how many extension cords were we using, Dre?
Let's not talk about it.
I know. It's like, I think we had to wrap the cords around the house and then around the block and bring them back in the other direction.
That's why we have 100-foot cords.
That's why we have 100-foot cords. That's kind of the
go on, right?
Exactly. Just want to kind of let you once again, as always, I feel like it's necessary, kind of set up TAT, and talk about that just a little bit. Give us just a refresher, and then introduce the guest you brought with you today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us about TAT.
Yeah, so Truckers Against Trafficking was founded, over 15 years ago. We're a nonprofit whose whole goal is to aid law enforcement in the recognition and the reporting of the crime of human trafficking by raising up and mobilizing an army of transportation professionals to do just that. There's over 3.1 million truckers in the United States, and they'd provide an amazing extra set of eyes and ears for law enforcement. So that's in essence what our organization does. Is we provide specific industry training material to members of the truck, bus, and energy industry. We work with law enforcement across North America, and as well as just so many different other targeted industries as well. To help hit that goal.
It's funny because we had Ben Wilkins of the NMFTA on, and he actually specializes in cybersecurity on Monday. Dave made a really great connection between what Ben is up to, what the cybersecurity specialists are up to, and really compared it to what you guys are doing and we'll get to your big September plans here. It used to be when people, focused on cybersecurity, they would look directly at their own supply chains. They look at the shippers, the receivers, the docks, the drivers, and all the kind of electronic equipment and all the sort of digital stuff to kind of prevent points of penetration. What they've been doing recently is they keep going further out. They keep expanding the perimeter because they're looking to lock down as many places as they can to prevent any sort of mischief. You guys are kind of engaged in the same thing, in the sense that, what started off just as, making sure that truckers kept an eye on the road and understood the signs when they saw them. This has gone further. You guys, you work with law enforcement, you always have, but working with municipalities, with companies, with organizations, you continue to look for ways to kind of expand the mission and then allow you guys to focus on particulars. In September, which is National Truck Driver Appreciation Month and week is coming as well, you guys have something kind of exciting in regards to September that you want to talk about it, what's going on this month, and you've brought along a friend to kind of talk about it. So introduce her, and let's kind of talk about what you guys have planned and what's going on.
Yeah, yes, sir, of course. I've got it today on the show, my colleague Darrah Thomas. I'm very excited to have her on today. She's TAP's communications manager. Darrah, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks, Micah, and excited to be on the show today, Jimmy. Thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Darrah, let's kind of talk about what you guys got cooking. I mean, let's talk about, National Truck Driver Appreciation Week, and then I'd love to get a little background on you as well, too.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, this year it's going to be really exciting for us. Next week, obviously, it's National Truck Driver Appreciation Week. We always do something every year, but this year we're going to be going in person to celebrate and talk with drivers. Usually we kind of do like a social media push, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But we're going to be going to the truck stops and travel centers across the country next week. So we'll be doing outreach with a table in each location, and we'll just be there simply to thank the drivers for all their hard work. So, of course, TAT is all about combating human trafficking, but this week, or next week, I should say, it's going to be all about truckers all the time, which we're very excited about, and just thanking them for what they do. So, yeah, we couldn't do what we do without these drivers, and but we know besides them looking out for human trafficking, making the call, like you said, trucking isn't an easy profession at all. So we love every year just being able to pause, just kind of acknowledge our roots and our main audience and base. We love them just because they make so many sacrifices to keep this country going. And, of course, at times it's a thankless job. We'll of course have our wallet cards on hand in case anyone needs a refill of those materials or wants more information. But really, we're just excited to be there, interact with them, and show our appreciation next week.
It's kind of an interesting. Go ahead, Darrah.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
I was going to tell you really quickly, it's so important that you guys are doing this too, because a lot of people will extend a hail and hearty welcome to our friends out there in the road during National Truck Driver Appreciation Week. You guys don't, you ask a lot, but you're also not asking them for money. You're asking them for their time and their eyes and their hearts. And taking a moment to take a breath and just say thank you actually does what you want to accomplish as well too, because it's just simply a matter of being there to remind people, look, today you guys know the information, you know the facts. If you want to ask us more questions, we are absolutely happy to answer for them. But you guys are really just going down there to say thank you. I mean, a lot of this is thank you, and those who don't know will say, well, what are you thanking us for? And you'll say, oh, funny, you should ask. But it really is that kind of thing. This is really, you guys are really, you spend all year long so watchful, so on top of this stuff, that it's just kind of a moment to take and say, thank you for all the work you do, correct?
Absolutely,
yeah, and actually,
go ahead, Micah.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I'd kind of actually like to go into a little bit more as to, why National Truck Driver Appreciation Week is so important to us at TAT, if that's all right.
Please.
Just because you actually hit the nail on the head. Truck drivers do so much, without truck drivers, TAT simply would not exist. I've told the story of how TAT has been founded on the show before, but I do think it would be a good idea to kind of retell it for the new listeners or those just out there listening today who just aren't familiar with us. Because again, like I said, we would not exist if it were not for truck drivers, and we really appreciate them for what they do. So over 15 years ago, as I mentioned, a woman read a book on human trafficking called Not for Sale, and was mortified by how much of an issue human trafficking still is, not just in our world, but in our country as well. She was really so moved that she called her 4 daughters up and told them to read it so that they could discuss the issue at hand and then see what they could do about it. And then out of that conversation, the woman started Chapter 61 Ministries, which was an initiative that had an initiative out of it called Truckers Against Trafficking. That initiative gained lots of traction and then became the central focus. So then out of that, Chapter 61 Ministries was disbanded, and TAT became its own 501c3. So we have this organization that was created to help combat human trafficking, but why transportation, right? Where does the trucking industry come into play here? Well, the woman's parents owned a bed and breakfast in the state of Texas just outside of a truck stop. Truckers would come in all the time when she was little, and they would, play with her and her sister and eat breakfast. And she just remembers that they were always just some of the nicest people. And then it dawned on her that truckers by nature are in a unique position to help combat the issue at hand due to the nature of their everyday jobs, of their everyday lives. Truckers go places that most people will never see in their lifetimes, populated and rural. Truckers go to rest stops, hotels, motels, convenience stores, big cities, small communities, and they're on the highways constantly. And again, as I mentioned, with over 3.1 million truckers existing in the United States, they've just provided an amazing extra set of eyes and ears for law enforcement. And so that's where that idea came from. TAT as an organization is mostly an idea, but without truckers, without the transportation industry, that is all it would be, is just an idea. But because truckers have taken this matter personally and have considered it not only a moral obligation to be vigilant and keep their eyes open, they consider it a safety thing as well. And what I do with TAT, I've interacted with truckers in several different ways. The two biggest I see the most often, or in particular, is that they're immensely proud of their work and the job that they do, but that they also care about safety over everything. To the truckers who take our training and who make the call to law enforcement when they think they see somebody in trouble, they see that as a safety violation and moral obligation and their duty to do the right thing and to call it in. And now we don't just work in the trucking industry, as I've mentioned, but we have expanded to other sectors as well, as the bus and energy industries, dealerships. We have a shipping and logistics program, law enforcement, government agencies, etc. Every day that I work for this company, it kind of blows my mind that we've trained over 2.2 million transportation professionals in all of the different sectors that we work within. And truckers 100% are the reason for that. The foundation of our roots as an organization is truck drivers, and so without them, we really couldn't do the work that we do. So, Jimmy, when there's an annual week of appreciation every single year in which we get to loudly and proudly proclaim that we're massive fans of the men and women who help move America forward on 18 wheels, you better believe we're going to be excited for the opportunity to do so. I once heard someone say, if you can see, touch, taste, or smell it, it was brought to you by a truck driver at some point. We as a society just wouldn't be able to function without truck drivers. TAT wouldn't be where we are today without them, and that is why we choose to celebrate them.
Yeah, and like I said, you guys make that so clear, is the sense that you guys work with these people all year long, year after year, and you actually in another way just said this too. This organization only exists because of buy-in. You can have all the great ideas. You can have people sitting around over ham sandwiches and coffee saying, we should. But if the people who are necessary to make it be a reality don't do the buy-in, it doesn't make any difference. And so much of what you guys are up to next week is just saying, thank you for listening. And thank you in some ways for being one step ahead, because when you guys showed up with the information, and it's really great information, there were a lot of people out there being like, I don't know what to do. I see this playing out and I feel powerless to stop it. It's a great kind of combination of people out there who want to do good and people who have the information that will actually help them do the best they can under the circumstances, because so much of it is simply about accumulating information and getting that information to the right people. It's not about being a hero in the kind of action film star way. It really is about, you know what? 7 of the 10 things on the checklist are there. That's what that is. I need to go talk to somebody to make sure this gets taken care of. And this is a chance just for telling people thank you for actually going through the checklist of what we've given you to look for, right?
Yeah, 1,000%. Could not agree more.
Okay, so let's talk about next week as well too, because you guys do have some online giveaways. Darrah, kind of alluded to them. Can we kind of talk about, like I said, the fun stuff here? Because so much of this is about being vigilant, being watchful, caring about your fellow human being. This is about you caring about the people who care about their fellow human beings. Tell us what's going on in the specific.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to talk about the fun stuff. We are so excited. Next week, it's a pretty big deal for us. Like Micah said, I mean, thank you for going into that, Micah. It's so important. But we're actually a pretty small but mighty team. So I think we have maybe about 23, 24 people, and 18 of us, so the majority of us will be out there on location. We'll be visiting 13 different truck stops throughout the country. So 3 Loves, 4 pilots, 2 Sapp brothers, and 4 TAs spread over 11 states. And I just kind of shout out to all those companies you mentioned for even letting us come to use their space during that week to interact with the drivers, because if we didn't have that opportunity, we wouldn't, it'd be harder to see those drivers, right? So at each place, we'll have a booth, like I mentioned, and we'll be giving out some fun TAP-branded flashlight keychains. They're actually really fun. I'd like one myself. I will not keep one, I promise. And there's a few locations who have donated some gift cards to give out too. If you're in the area, stop by. There's going to be a full list of the locations, dates, and times in the description of this episode. And just real quick, one of the locations we'll be going to will be at the TA Travel Center in Commerce City, Colorado. And something we'll be doing at this location and a couple of the others, in addition to talking to the drivers, is if a driver is willing to, we'll get some video footage for social media interviews. And the reason for this is, we go to events all the time. Micah in his roles sees truckers all the time. We'll have booths or give presentations, but something we don't always get the chance to do is hear from the drivers themselves. Some people like Micah in his role do, but it kind of depends on the event. And so we want to give an opportunity for drivers to share their experiences themselves, see if they've heard about TAT, just kind of let them know about our free resources and training, and just feature some amazing individuals on our account to show our appreciation and just really feature them, give them the voice themselves.
I kind of want to talk about that as well too, because I want people to understand that they don't have to be like camera savvy. They don't have to be like have their own makeup kit or anything like that. You just want people who have a story to tell, who want to talk to you guys, be able to come on over. You guys will make them comfortable. You will show them in their best light. We were joking about this the other day, Dre and I. We just cut a couple of promo spots for Radio Nemo, and Claire, who does all the sound for us, just tells people, just say it clearly and cleanly, and let people who are really good at this stuff take care of you. We promise you, not only will you not look a fool, you'll look rather heroic, because you're simply standing up and speaking out for an organization that needs your voice, and for men, women, and children out there who desperately need your voice. Fair enough, Micah?
Fair enough.
Okay. So let me kind of go back to kind of human trafficking here for a second to kind of expand, because you guys have expanded who you're working with. It's not just truckers, not just the transportation sector, the energy sector, law enforcement, of course. This is something else, too, that I did want to make some time for to help people understand. It's not just sex trafficking. We're talking about labor trafficking, and we're also talking about that these hubs, like I said, just like there are hubs of positivity that help the economy grow and bring people a lot of goods and services that are wonderful, these hubs become conduits for drugs, guns, and all sorts of other murderous intent out there. Stopping human trafficking, stops basically slave labor to run some of the worst criminal activity in the world, correct?
Yeah, correct. And labor trafficking specifically is something that we at TAT are starting to focus more on and put more of an emphasis on. Over 15 years ago, when we started, the emphasis was on sex trafficking, but as time has gone on and the conversation surrounding, in our society, an understanding of what sex trafficking is more at the forefront of most people's, knowledge of what is human trafficking. That has been really great, and so we are trying to focus a little bit more on labor trafficking as we go forward. One of the things I'm actually really excited about for our next mobile exhibit, which I think I've mentioned on the show before, we're going to eventually have a second mobile exhibit in our arsenal. is going to focus not just on sex trafficking, but also labor trafficking. It's going to be a pretty healthy 50-50 split. And when you go into that exhibit, you're gonna get a survivor's story, and as you walk through the trailer, you'll get to experience their story. I'm pretty excited for it, but yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Both of these areas, and we've talked about this before, modern slavery, there are over 50 million people estimated around the globe that are in, modern slavery, and that this industry is a $256 billion industry annually. So, yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that's so upsetting to me is that people don't realize that so much of what the sex trafficking is a sinister amenity that is offered through a network of larger criminal enterprises and activities. Is that this is the beginning of, slowly but surely cutting the legs out from under the people who are at the top of the food chain, because so many of the men and the women, young men and young women who are used in sex trafficking often have to become spies, mules, intelligence gathering entities for these organizations. And the worst part is that even if somehow they manage to make it to their 30th birthday alive, so much of this is them being trained to kind of exist in a shadowy criminal sort of world. We are, in fact, not only helping these young men and women towards safety and towards the lives they actually deserve, we're also making, you talked about it, the truckers believe in safety. This is one of the key ways of maintaining safety on the highway. I wanted to ask you too, Micah, because, you're a mobile exhibit specialist, in regards to this. In putting these mobile exhibits together, talk about the kind of work and the kind of preparation and planning that go into launching new content and new information.
Oh my gosh, so much work. Okay. And I have to give credit where credit is due. I haven't even really been a massive part of the team that has been in charge of creating the new content for the new mobile exhibit. And we've been working with the company ATS has been working with TAP for quite some time on this new exhibit, and lots of hard work from lots of people. It takes a long time to get these sort of details worked out. And I just think that everybody on the project is so dedicated to bringing great educational tool into the light so that more people can hear about this. Because that's, we focus on the education aspect, right? That is what we exist for, is as you said, spread this information across as many people as possible, so that we can promote long-lasting change. So it takes a lot of work, and the mobile exhibits are awesome. I get to experience truck drivers literally all the time, and not everybody on the team gets to do that, and I'm just the most grateful for it. It's just a joy and a pleasure. When I do interact with truck drivers, it's because I'm traveling with our mobile exhibit to different industry events throughout the year. This new one's going to be called the DCP. The one that we currently have is called the FTP. So the new one will stand for Driving Change Project. The one we currently have stands for Freedom Drivers Project. So when I get to, be at an event like Matt's or, another industry event like the National Truck Driving Championship, I just feel genuinely happy getting to talk to truck drivers. What I love about truck drivers is they're some of the most down-to-earth people, joyful people that exist in the world. I remember when I first started, I had zero experience with the transportation industry, and I remember hearing that I would be attending a trucking rodeo, and it was like somebody had literally spoken a different language to me. I was just so confused. And while it's great to go out there and promote the work that we do in combating human trafficking, I'm very excited for National Truck Driver Appreciation Week. It's just a great opportunity for TAT to go out and show our support, say thanks, get the chance to appreciate them for what they do. They do so much in society; it's the least we can do.
Yeah, and the other thing is, you talk about how how genuinely sweet a lot of these men and women are. They're also naturally curious. I can't tell you the number of times that if they feel like you know something about something they don't know about, they don't try to pretend they do. Instead, they ask you a lot of questions. I
sir.
can't tell you the number of times I have simply done a post of me and my dad going to get him to physical therapy, and people will just pop in and be like, good for you and your dad, but I got a couple of movie questions for you. And people will throw things at me just because they're curious about stuff. Let me show you the reach, by the way, guys, of Truckers Against Trafficking. Kevin, our good friend Trucker Boson, writes, in Arkansas, you have to pass the TAT certification test in order to renew your CDL. One-time thing. Once you get the certificate, you're good. He's just reminding people that you guys have really made inroads, not just with the trucking community, but with the law enforcement community as well. They understand, and they really love this because, like I said, a lot of people would see this stuff for many years and be like, do I intervene? What do I do? Law enforcement folks love you guys too because you're saying, no. Let law enforcement handle this, but here's how you know when to let law enforcement know, and here's what you have to give law enforcement to allow them to put a stop to this. It really is about making people into detectives rather than, action stars. It really is about helping people kind of put the math together, and that makes a big difference because you're making them safer too, because sometimes intervening in this stuff directly, other than an outright emergency, when somebody comes screaming across the parking lot to you, can end in disaster both for you and the victim, correct?
Oh, correct. Yeah, we like to say if you're in a situation like that, don't approach a trafficker, don't put yourself in danger. But that's why the power of a simple phone call can change so many things. That's why we have so many different stories of Harriet Tubman Award winners who, all they did was make a simple phone call, and then out of that something happens, right?
Yeah, and like I said, some of the stories that people tell, you realize that the simple ability to know what is going on around you and to actually get the information, driver's license plates, descriptions of people properly, setting the scene to let the people who actually are skilled and trained in bringing an end to this, giving them as much information as they need to act upon this is I got to tell you, the first 48 hours, the first 12 hours of recognizing something going down is every detail counts at that point. It's right up there with the same thing with an Amber Alert, all of the same kind of environment. Don't intervene. Intervene by going to the people who know how to intervene, and it makes such a big difference. We're out of time. Micah, I wanted to make sure that you and Darrah had nothing else you wanted to add before we shuffle off this radio coil.
I don't think so. We want to say thanks, truck drivers. Darrah, you got anything else?
Yeah, just really quick, just go ahead to our social media. Next week, we've got lots of giveaways coming up, so we'd love for you all to enter those and win some great prizes.
Yeah, guys, prizes. You've earned it, by the way, if you're out there on the road doing the good work with TAT, tatnonprofit.org. On the Book of Face, it's TAT Nonprofit, TAT Nonprofit on the gram of Insta, and, of course, on LinkedIn, TAT Nonprofit. Really simple, guys, TAT, non, N-O-N, profit. Those three words together are places you should go and people you should absolutely meet. Micah, Darrah, thank you for making time for us this morning, and have a great time next week seeing the people who make this all possible.
Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Micah. Thank you, Darrah.